Hi everyone, my name is Saleha Singh and welcome to A Multicultural Affair. What is the essence of life? It is to serve others and do good. No, these are not my words. It's Aristotle's words, and he spoke about this 2,300 years ago. Meet my guest tonight, whose life mission is to do good and to serve others. Pam Frank, who is a volunteer and works with the disadvantaged African and the Bhutanese communities off air and have it another day. And that is going to be really sad because I can't seem to be getting Pam. Thank you, Ijaz. I'm sorry. I was hoping more people would watch, but that's not happening. Pam is not being able to connect, and I think if we can't connect, then I will just have to say goodbye to everybody who's logged in to watch, because without her, there is no story. It was all about the amazing work that she is doing in the African community. And, it's so inspiring. So I don't know why I'm not being able to connect. What I'm going to see is if I can get. Okay, Pam is connecting, and here we are. Hello, Pam. Sorry, technology. All right.
Yeah.
Hello, Pam. Can you
Wonderful.
move a bit to your right so that I can see you? We have,
Sorry,
yes,
I just had to
no,
move.
yes.
My internet router just decided to go off.
Of course,
As
I told
it's
you
been
technology
playing up.
can play havoc. Yes, yes. So thank you. Sorry and apologies to my viewers who are sending these lovely messages. Carol de Graaf says very nice. Ijaz Khwaja, all the way from Pakistan, says excellent style and an impressive personality. Okay. Um, so here we go. Let's start with you, Pam. Tell us something about yourself.
Okay. Well, I was born in 1960, so I'm 60 years old. I'm a grandmother. I've got 3 grandkids. I grew up in Mildura. My father was a farmer, and my mother was a music teacher and a mad science fiction fan. And so I, so I read every book I could get my hands on after she'd read them. So I also grew up on science fiction. I became quite interested in science, and then decided to. I wanted a profession that would help people. And so
Yes.
I decided to study medical technology at RMIT. So I came to Melbourne when I was 18, and so that I could do that course, and I never went back again. So although I've
Yes,
lived in Melbourne,
Melbourne has that effect on you, doesn't it? You never want to go back. Yes,
yeah, but I still consider myself as a country kid, and I still consider Mildura is home. Um,
of course.
but here I am in Melbourne. So I worked after I finished my medical technology degree. I worked in pathology laboratories for about 12 years. And then I had 3 kids. And when my kids were little, I discovered the benefits of natural medicine for my kids and the rest of my family. I became very interested in natural medicine. So I decided that I would go back to school and do another science degree in
Wow.
natural
Wow.
medicine. Yeah. And about the same time, my husband and I discovered Scientology. And so I started studying Scientology as well, simultaneously while I was studying natural medicine. And I found the two things went together really well. They were really complementary in the truest sense of the word. So I finished my naturopath degree and got my qualification and started practicing. And I was doing that for a few years. And then I decided that I really wanted to help people to the maximum that I possibly could. And so I decided to become a full-time volunteer staff member at the Melbourne Church of Scientology in 2004. And I joined staff at that time, and I've been a full-time volunteer ever since. I still see patients after hours and on weekends.
So you
But
still practice naturopathy?
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay. Yep.
yeah, and I help all my family and my friends and my friends. You know, people refer people to me, and so yeah, I've always got quite a few patients that I'm working with, which I love. It's like it's a lot of fun helping people to
Always. Yes.
overcome
Yes.
challenges.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that is the essence of life, isn't it? Doing good and helping others.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So tell us about your volunteer work, Pam. When did it start?
Okay, so as I said, it was 2004 that I became a full-time volunteer. One of the very first big projects that I worked on was at the end of 2004. You may remember there was the massive
Tsunami?
tsunami at the end of
Yes.
2004. And one of the first projects I worked on was I sent 12 volunteers from Melbourne to Aceh in Indonesia.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And they joined a big team of volunteers there, the Scientology volunteer ministers, and they worked with the Indonesian military and the Muslim clerics, because it's a predominantly Muslim
Yes.
area.
I know.
In
Yes.
Indonesia.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and some of my volunteers were there for about 4 months, and the main thing we were doing there was helping people to recover from the trauma. So as you can imagine, it was an incredibly shocking, traumatic event, and those that survived were extremely traumatized by it, to the degree that they were not able to do anything to rebuild their lives. They were just in shock. And so what we do with Scientology technology is that we can help people to recover from shock really fast, and with very simple techniques. And so we were teaching the military and also the Muslim clerics how to do those techniques so that they could help the people to come out of the shock. And then the Muslim clerics would then counsel the people using the Quran. And then that would get them back on their feet and get them back to looking after their family and rebuilding a shelter so that they'd have some sort of shelter, and gathering food and that sort of thing. So that was back in 2004. And then since that time, we've had quite a few tsunamis and cyclones and earthquakes and bushfires and those sorts of things, where I've done a similar thing with mobilising volunteers to go and help. And
Is this international or in Australia? So after Aceh, was it? Yep.
Some of the disasters were international. So we had guys from Melbourne going to different parts of the world, like Vanuatu. There was, I think it was a cyclone in Vanuatu. There was the earthquake in Haiti.
Yes.
And
yes.
another earthquake in Christchurch.
Yes.
And then we had quite a few bushfires in
yes,
Australia.
Yes. Yep.
And then there was also the floods, the Queensland floods.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
Had volunteers up there, and the volunteers were shoveling mud out of people's houses for days.
I can still see those images, of the Brisbane River being getting flooded, and my husband's office was there, and the husband got
wow.
not my husband didn't get gutted, but the whole office was in a mess. Absolutely. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, he's never worked in Brisbane, but he had a company office there anyway. So what about your Melbourne story? That's a very interesting one. Tell us about that.
So in 2010, I started working with the African community groups around the Flemington area. And I originally, this is how it began. I first went to somebody who was an official person who was, looking after uh, various community groups in an official capacity. And I went to visit her and said that I would like to help the people with whatever they are struggling with. And she said, oh, these people are very suspicious of people they don't know, and they won't let you help them if they don't know you. You may as well not bother. And she tried to talk me out of doing
So
that.
she discouraged you.
She tried to, but that's red rag to a bull to me. So she fortunately took my email address and put me on her email list, and she was sending me out newsletters. And so I got a newsletter which was advertising the annual Eid festival. And I thought, oh, great, festivals. We love doing festivals. I'll just ring this person who I didn't know if it was a man or a woman, and I'll offer our help. So I did that, and it was a man, and he said, oh, great, come to our meeting. And he told me where it was, when it was. So I turn up to this meeting and walk in, and it's a room full of maybe about 20 people. There's some African people, and then there's some white people, and some official people, like there were people from Victoria Police and Federal Police and various government agencies, Department of Health and Human Services, and various other official organisations. And so I walk in and they're all sort of looking at me going, who are you? And this was just a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks before the festival was due to occur. So I sit down and the meeting starts, and they're discussing all the different aspects of the festival and what's needed. And they get to the point where they're talking about the finances, and they're saying, well, we've really got a problem because we just don't have enough money to pay to hire marquees for the festival. And therefore, all of these exhibits are going to be out in the open. And so I speak up and I say, oh, excuse me, we've got some marquees and you're welcome to borrow them. And instantly they were like interested in it. Oh, have you? How many? How big are they? Will you put them up for us? Will you take them down for us? And I said, yeah, sure, no worries. So we went along to the festival and we put all our marquees up, and we've got quite a few marquees of various sizes, and they were very useful. And I don't know what they would have done if
you hadn't given it to them. Yeah.
Yeah, they would have been out in the sun all day, no shelter at all. So we put all our marquees up for them, and then during the day we made ourselves busy by just keeping the area clean, picking up all the rubbish off the ground and just keeping it all clean, so that at the end of the day there was no cleaning up to do. And then we packed up all our tents, and they couldn't believe that we actually did what we said we were going to do. And during the day, I was introduced to a lady, and the way I was introduced to her, I was told, if you want to help in this community, this is the person you need to know. And so I was introduced to the chairman of the Somali Women's Development Association. And I said to her, I would like to help you with whatever you're doing. What do you need and want? And she said, I want to start a homework club. And I said, great, I can help you with that. I've got lots of volunteers that would love to do that. And I said, when would you like to start? And she said, oh, this is October of 2010. She said, I'd like to start next year. And I said, oh, how about we start next week? And she said, you can do that? And I said, yeah, sure. If you've got the venue, and you can get the word out to the community, I can get the volunteers there.
Yes.
And we'll start. And so we did. We started the next week. And that homework club has been going every Saturday since 2010. And that's every Saturday of the year, except a couple of weekends around Christmas, where I have to pretty much beg them to be able to take a couple of weeks off, because they would just keep going. They go
Yes,
through
I'm
the holidays.
sure. Yes.
Through the January holidays, they don't want to stop because it's so useful to them and makes
Yes.
such a difference to them. So that's where I started working with the African community on the homework clubs. Apart from the homework clubs, we also worked with them a lot doing various other festivals like Somali Independence Day, and there was a Harmony Multicultural Day that we did with them, and also a lot of sporting events, soccer events and that sort of thing, which we just helped with all of our equipment and our volunteers and helping them run the festival. And so over the years, we've built up a very strong relationship with
Yes,
the
I'm
African
sure.
community.
Yes.
And I've met a lot of the families, and I've met a lot of different community leaders, and they all work together, and a lot of the time, but their situations across the board are very, very similar, and most of the people have come to Australia as refugees from their home country, and they may have spent quite a long time in refugee camps, and they've come to Australia to find a new life, and they get 500 hours of English when they get here. But for
But
many of
that's
them,
not enough to learn
no,
English. It takes years
especially,
and years. Yes.
yeah, like the younger kids seem to be able to, like teenagers, they seem to be able to manage with that.
Yes.
But adults and the older adults, it's just not enough. And so they don't really learn English. And then because English is just in the too hard basket, they tend to stick with their own people where they speak their own language, and they don't really get much opportunity to.
So no assimilation into the society.
It's really hard for them. Yeah, very hard. And they also told me that a lot of them have tried to get qualifications so that they could get a job, but because of that low literacy, they find it very difficult to complete a course and get a qualification. So a lot of them are not working, and they're on Centrelink, and they're living in the Housing Commission estates, and large families living in tiny apartments, and it's very noisy and crowded, and the kids are trying to study, and there's lots of noise in the background and that sort of thing. Yeah, so.
What are you doing now, Pam? How are you doing homework classes?
Okay, so with the lockdown, the homework club, and by the way, as well as the Saturday homework club, we also started another homework club on a Tuesday with a different community group. So with the lockdown, we had to move the homework clubs over to online.
Of course,
and
yes.
So we did that, and we found that was working quite well, but the community leaders were being inundated with pleas for help from a lot of the families, because the kids were struggling so much with having to do their schoolwork by themselves. So what was happening is they would have an hour with the teacher online, and then the teacher would set the work for the rest of the day, and the children would have to do that work by themselves.
By themselves, yes. Without any guidance?
Well, the teacher would give the instructions for what to do, but then for the rest of the day, the kids are on their own.
Yeah.
And they've got to get that work done. And the parents, because of their limited literacy and even limited education in their own language if they'd spent quite a long time in a refugee camp with no schools. The parents were unable to help the kids with that work. And so a lot of the kids were feeling quite abandoned and giving up, and then just not even trying to do the work. And the parents were really worried about that. And so the community leaders started giving me families, more families, apart from the original Homework Club families, but giving me more families to find volunteers for.
And do you have enough volunteers?
No, because I keep getting more families given to me. So the number of families, like I'm getting 3 or 4 families every week. And some of those families, I think the maximum I've had is 9 children. Some of them might have only 1 or 2, but then some of them have got quite a lot of kids that need help. And then I've got to find volunteers to help those children. And because it's online, it needs to be more or less one-on-one. It's not like you could, at the original Homework Club, you could have one volunteer with 4 kids sitting around a table and you could help all 4. But with this, it's I need more volunteers to be able to help the kids because it's going to be one-on-one help.
Sure.
But then I had to find volunteers very rapidly, in addition to my original volunteers. So I asked them to get the word out. And one of the volunteers put a little story on her Instagram page talking about her experience as a volunteer and how much fun it was. And that got the attention of a friend of hers, who's a mother of children at a very big private school, a prep to year 12 private school. And that mother started volunteering and she loved it. And so she then put that on that little ad, I guess, out through the school network. And it got to the parents and grandparents group that would normally have been helping in the classroom. Got to them. It also got to the teachers.
That's how I came to know about you.
Yes, that's right. And even the retired, like the retired teachers from that school heard about it. And it also got to the teacher at that school who looks after the kids doing community service as part of their special special award that they go for. I think it's Duke of Edinburgh or something like that.
Duke of Edinburgh, yep.
Yeah, so they do community service as part of that. So she contacted me and asked me, could the students, the year 9 to 12 students, also participate and look after some kids with online tutoring? I said, yes, please. So I had teachers, retired teachers, parents, grandparents, and students.
But it's never enough, is it?
Well, no. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure. It's still growing. So currently, I've got 185 students and I've got 75 tutors that are.
So you're looking for more tutors?
Yes. So I've still got a bit of a waiting list, or at the moment, I've got a waiting list of children waiting for tutors.
Yes.
And so I am looking for more tutors. And the tutors don't have to be teachers. They don't even have to be all that well educated themselves. As long as they've got the basic literacy and numeracy, I can match the tutors with the students. So depending on what year level a tutor is comfortable with and how many hours a week they're willing to put in, I can match them to a student that they will be able to handle. So if they're, a year 12 maths teacher who can also teach chemistry and physics, fantastic. I can match them with the
I'm hoping my listeners are going to inundate you with calls. Do you mind calling? Yeah, do you mind sharing your number, please, Pam?
My phone number is 0405 648 822. I'll give you it again just in case you didn't have time to write it down. So it's 0405 648 822. So
Thank
anyone who would like to apply, please give me a call. I can answer all your questions. One thing I do make sure of is that that the volunteers have either got a current Victorian teacher registration or they have a current working with children check.
And that doesn't cost much because I know I have it. Yes,
No,
and you get
that's
it in a day's time. Yeah.
that's right. And for a volunteer, the working with children check is free and it lasts for 5 years.
Yes,
So
that's right. Yes.
it doesn't take long. Like you can get the working with children check in just probably about 3 or 4 days. I've had people get it that fast.
Yes, I've got it, I think, in less than 48 hours. So it was very, very
Wow.
quick.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's really, yeah. So that's all I would need. They could be a professional, like I have an optometrist who's helping. I've got a bike shop mechanic who's helping. So
Well, at the end of the day, you are doing a good job. You're helping people get out of the poverty line, and that's what's most
yeah,
important, isn't it? We've got to break this cycle of poverty and enable people to go out and work. And if it means just a few hours a week, why not? We all have some time. Yeah. And now with most people working from home, I'm guessing, we are not working for like 8-9 hours straight up. But yes, I know I will share this video with all my friends, and I'm hoping somebody will contact you. You're also looking for volunteers who would teach the adults English, for
yes.
which I put up
So
my hand. Yes.
yeah, thank you. So in finding out about the families and the children that are at home trying to do their studies online, I also find out that they have adult relatives who have newly arrived to Australia, and they're undergoing their 500 hours of English, but they're doing it online. So it's
Yes.
even harder. So they are needing some help too. And if anyone would like to work with adults and just be teaching them basic English and even just conversing with them, giving them practice,
Yes.
speaking English and talking about different things, that's so valuable. So if you'd like to do that, let me know, because that's definitely needed as well. And I inadvertently found out that one of my volunteers who'd volunteered to help the children, when she found out that I had people that were adults waiting for English help, she said, "Oh, I've always wanted to do that. Please may I help those people as well?" And said, "Oh, okay. Well, I was trying to just keep it to helping the kids, but since there's people willing to help the adults and they definitely need it too, then that's sort of like a little byproduct of that online
Yes.
tutoring, the tutoring or English for the adults as well." And what you were saying about breaking that cycle of poverty, that I've learnt over the years, because I've come to know people pretty well, and I've learnt that education is the key
Absolutely.
in breaking that cycle.
Yes.
Because what happens if the kids don't succeed in their education? They drop out of school, they hang out on the streets, they get into drugs and crime, and then they end up in jail or they end up in the mental health system.
Yes.
And for these families, that's absolutely tragic, because they've come from
Because
some,
they've survived horror. I mean, isn't it?
yeah,
Wars and crimes are running away from everything to rebuild their lives and to see their children or their grandchildren not being educated and not being able to, use all our facilities. So I think even if each one of us spends, half an hour to 1 hour of our lives, maybe, 3 times a week, really helping someone to get out of that cycle and lifting them up just a little bit. And, and with every drop, an ocean is made. So if each one of us do our bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And you might, you might really underestimate how valuable it is, because just working with a child and helping that child learn the alphabet and learn the sounds that the letters make, and then helping that child put the sounds together to make words, and therefore being able to read.
Yes.
That is so valuable, but it's really easy too.
It is, yes.
I've had the experience of having a 6-year-old whose mother was told, there's something wrong with your daughter. She's not reading. All the other kids are reading. She's not reading. Therefore, there's something wrong, and you need to get her checked out. So I sit down with this little girl, and within 5 minutes, I'd found out what the problem was. She didn't know the alphabet. She could sing the alphabet song beautifully, but she did not know that the sounds she's making in that song have anything to do with the little black marks on the page. She didn't know what those little black marks were. And she didn't know that they were letters and that they represented sounds, and that when you put the sounds together, you make a word.
Yes.
And then, so we learnt the alphabet. She learnt the sounds. She learnt how to put them together. She started reading. It took 1 hour.
And children are like sponge, they just soak up everything. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
as I said, I'm hoping you're going to be inundated with calls. Before we run out of time, what is your message for the community? What would you like to tell each one of us, Pam?
I would like to invite you all to share in this, because the rewards for you are fantastic. Like from all my volunteers and all the feedback I get from my volunteers, they have so many wins from seeing their students doing well, or taking their students from being not comprehending and feeling hopeless to starting to get the confidence that they can learn and that they can do well, and seeing the hope spring up in that child, and seeing that, like, the child suddenly gets the idea about their future and what kind of future they can have, and that you see that you're a witness to that, and you've helped that happen, and that is magic. Yeah, so I'd really recommend it.
I'm sure, as I said, I hope you get inundated with calls. I will spread the word, and thank you so much for coming to my show. It's been an absolute pleasure. I will be in touch, and hopefully we will be volunteering together.
Great. Thanks, Aleha.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope you will call up Pam and do your bit, because I know I will. Thank you. Good night. Stay safe. Stay well. Bye.